It was a slow day at the office. I hadn't seen much excitement at work in a few weeks now. Mostly missing cat cases was all the detective work I was getting lately. Little did I know that was all about to change as soon as my next client walked through the door.
Detective, I need your help. My friend and coworker George Fritz has been held in performance management jail on wrongful charges. Our boss Derek Gerber always seemed like such an understanding and kind fellow up until recently. And George always worked so hard and even worked extra hours just for the betterment of the school. It just doesn't make sense why Derek would do this to George. And I'm worried about Derek too. He's looking different every day and getting meaner by the minute. Lately, it's like he thinks we're all lazy and not doing our work. He's threatening to fire everyone and take away all of our freedoms. We have to save George and hurry to save Derek from himself before he puts everyone in performance management jail.
Clarissa, you've picked the right detective for the job. I will get on this right away. Just as I was about to exit the door with Clarissa to begin my investigation, a hard thud was heard from outside my office, followed by an evil, familiar chuckle. Though I could not place that laugh, I knew I had crossed paths with this villain before. I ran out the door as fast as I could, only to find a wall of pictures of George in performance management jail, one wearing a dunce cap, one of George holding a check with the amount $0, another of George in agony completing calculus problems. It was too much to take. As I quickly sprinted down the stairwell of our 20-story building, I was disappointed that the perpetrator had gotten away, or so he thought. As I ran down the stairs, chasing this figure in a black cloak, I noticed a piece of paper flying out of its pocket. Making my way back up the stairs, I came across a receipt from Taco Bell, only this receipt listed an order for just 2 items, a soda and an upcharge for 200 packets of hot sauce. I knew this only meant one thing. This was the doing of the Hot Mess. Hot Mess has been known for 2 things: his obsession with hot sauce and his manipulation of memory. Clarissa, I know who put the pictures up of George and who's been manipulating Derek. While chasing the perpetrator down the stairs, a receipt with an order for 200 hot sauce packets flew out of his pocket, and this could only mean one thing. It's the evil villain, Hot Mess. He's at it again. He must have hit Derek with a classic case of over-manipulative raider bias.
Raider bias? What's that?
Well, I'll admit I'm no expert. Let's head down to see my dear friend, an amazing doctor in the field of psychology. She can be of great assistance in explaining the process behind raider bias. She may also have some insight on how to beat Hot Mess, saving both Derek and George.
Clarissa and Detective Johns head into town and arrive at the office of Dr. Jintz.
Hello, dear friend. So wonderful to see you.
So glad to see you too, gents, but I'm sorry for the circumstances. You see, my client here, Clarissa, has a coworker, George, who's been wrongfully evaluated by his manager, Derek, landing him in academic jail. But here's the catch. We have discovered Derek has been brain-hacked by the evil villain, Hot Mess.
Oh my, how horrible. Well, how can I help?
We were hoping you could inform us a little about how raider bias starts, so we can brainstorm ways we may be able to stop Hot Mess from attacking Clarissa and George's manager.
Of course. Well, rater bias occurs when your view becomes distorted by personal perception. There are many different forms of rater bias that can manifest. The first common type of rater bias is called halo effect, which is basing the overall evaluation performance in all areas from only one performance area. For example, a staff member performed poorly on a particular result behavior, so they are rated at the same low level on all other result behaviors regardless of true performance. The second of the more common forms of rater bias is known as central tendency error. This occurs when all results or behaviors were considered to be generally achieved. Though it's not necessarily wrong to rate an employee the same in all result behaviors, most people do some things better than others, and it should be reflected as so in the ratings. Leniency strictness error, the third of the most common types of rater biases, occurs when the evaluator consistently gives easy or tough ratings. Next, the similar to me effect occurs when evaluators rate employees more positively or negatively simply due to how alike or unlike they are to themselves. It is most likely that the more similar an employee is to their supervisor, especially in attitude and background, the more highly the supervisor will favor the employee. In another bias known as the contrast effect, the evaluator rates the employee by comparing them to another staff member. Though there are many forms of rater bias, the bias that this appears to be is the primacy recency effect. Primacy recency effect is also known as the serial effect because it is easier to remember things presented in the beginning of a series and the end of the series. For example, the beginning and the end of the evaluation period. For example, people may best remember a first impression or a last impression, good or bad. You see, research from a man named Bennett Murdoch found that the human brain can typically only hold 7 items in its short-term memory, which makes it hard to remember things that recently happened, if not rehearsed or repeated. Not to mention, your brain is inclined to most easily remember your first and last experiences. It happens to most everyone. But it appears Hot Mess must have hacked into this part of Derek's brain so that he only remembers the negative first and last experiences he has had with George. By gaining control of this part of Derek's brain, Hot Mess is able to recycle these bad feelings for George over and over again until he truly believes that he is a horrible employee.
How horrible! But you mentioned this could happen to anyone?
Yes, gents. Can you explain how this can happen to anyone?
Well, how about I show you? Come into my lab and you can see how this phenomenon works firsthand. In order to demonstrate the dangers of rater bias in the form of primacy recency effect, serial effect, this game will test your memory. Presenting one word on each slide, you will continue through the slides without returning to the previous slide. It is vital you do not return to the previous slide once moving on to the next in order for the effect to take place. Now quickly write down on a piece of paper all the words you remember from the memory game. Remember, do not look back at the previous slides to best experience the phenomenon of the primacy, recency, or serial effect. Did you remember more words toward the beginning or at the end? Were there less items you remembered from the middle of the list?
Goodness, yes, I hardly remember a word between light and jump. Wow, this is tough.
Yikes, I feel the same way, Detective, and I probably only remembered 6 total. I can't even believe how little I remembered from the middle.
Well, Detective and Clarissa, you have just experienced the primacy-recency effect that can often happen in evaluations. However, instead of words that are difficult to remember as shown in this activity, the effect can present itself through remembering only the first or the most recent experiences the evaluator has had with the employee. To avoid this type of rater bias, the first step is to address its presence.
Oh my, so we're all susceptible to this without hot mess? How horrifying.
Yes, it is true, we are all susceptible, but hot mess is triggering Derek to only remember those first and last bad experiences. I wouldn't be surprised if in his brain hacking he was able to alter those memories to be more negative as well. These negative viewpoints of George are all Derek can see.
How can we stop this from happening to us? Or more importantly, how can we save Derek from himself and rescue poor George from performance management jail?
Let's think. How can we keep ourselves from forgetting all the many things that happen in between those initial events? How can Derek remember all the wonderful things George has done from his last evaluation to now?
My wife knows how forgetful I am, so she leaves me hints to remember things. For instance, I always leave my lunch in the fridge, so she puts a sticky note on the door before I leave to remind me to grab it.
Aw, well, isn't that sweet? But how is that going to help us save George from Derek?
I think Detective is onto something. Notes.
Notes would certainly be helpful to us so we don't fall victim to rater bias or the primacy recency effect. But what about poor Derek? I'm sure he has no notes with how crazy it's been around the office. Not to mention he's been a whole lot less on top of things since he's been under Hot Mess's control.
What about past projects George has completed, or emails they have corresponded back and forth?
That may just do it.
Hot Mess may be evil, but he's pretty intelligent. We better hurry before he destroys all the positive evidence of George's performance.
Thanks so much, gents. We better get going.
Clarissa and Detective head to the office and see Hot Mess on their heels driving right behind them. They rush up to show Derek the old emails and projects he and George have collaborated on.
Hello, Derek. My name is Detective Johns, and I have discovered you've been brain hacked by the evil villain, Hot Mess. I'm sorry to put this so bluntly, but we have no time. Hot Mess will be here any minute, and we must show you your old emails with George so that you can see what a good employee he truly has been.
All of a sudden, the power goes out in the entire building. Loud noises break out in Derek's office. No! His computer's ruined. What will we do now? There seems to be no hope for George now. Poor guy always worked so hard. He always listened to what people had to say so that he could learn and try to improve himself every day. Gosh. Hot Mess, of course, left his calling card, a trail of hot sauce by Derek's shattered computer. Office chatter begins outside of Derek's office. And he is so kind and courteous. He would help me on projects when he finished his ahead of time because he knows I have a baby on the way. I can't even count on my fingers and toes how many clients we've had coming in telling us what a wonderful time they've had working with George. He was such a great loss. If only Hot Mess would unleash his hold on Derek.
Was I blind this whole time? How could this be? Did I make this all up in my head?
No, sir. There's a very common phenomenon called rater bias, which can be affected by something called the primacy-recency effect. Hot Mess took advantage of this function in your brain and made all your initial and final memories of George negative ones. We believe these memories may even be completely made up or altered by Hot Mess to manipulate you.
Thank you for opening my eyes. I must take care of this at once.
Derek, I have my car parked out front. Let's go get George and fix this mess. Clarissa and Derek went to the performance management jail to go fix this mess and give George the justice and appreciation he deserved. And now we know how to overcome rater bias. It can be avoided by keeping notes, rating each job, result, and behavior independently, using specific accomplishments and facts to support overall performance, and using the full performance rating levels to accurately show the strengths and areas of improvement in the job results and behaviors.
Looks like another case closed. Luckily, the police tracked down Hot Mess and took him into custody. They found him trying to smuggle hot sauce out of a local grocery store. Justice is served.